Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Jesus is the Key to Reentry on today. I'm so happy to come back with you another Thursday, another week. Boy, time is just moving, time is just flying by, but we're just so grateful to God of everything that He is doing in our lives and everything that He's about to do in our lives. Real quick. I want to take a few minutes to tell you right now, I'm streaming live. I'm actually in Orlando, Florida. We're on our family vacation. My son says it's a Johnson family vacation. So we are here and we got here earlier today. But I had to make sure. He said, Mom, there's no compassionate advocate, no Jesus is the key to reentry this week. And I said, Son, well, I already have a podcast scheduled. So we going to go ahead and do what we supposed to do. We got a couple of days here, so we got time to enjoy, time for the babies to just have. And I do want to take this time to talk about self-care and how self-care is important. Self-care just to not do anything, okay, and just rest, not just our minds but our bodies. And sometimes it's just being in the presence of your family, because a lot of times we work so much, we're on the go, we really don't have time to be with our family. I remember while I was incarcerated, it was always a desire for me to hurry up and go home so I can spend time with my family. So I am so glad that I'm here and that I can spend time with my family. So that's a good thing. And I'm just grateful for that. The second thing I want to talk to you about, and as you come in, go ahead and share your name and share where you're from. Go ahead and share your name and where you are from. Before we bring the guests in. And as always, I actually make sure you share this podcast. So whatever streaming network that you want to share it on, go ahead and share the podcast. But the second thing that I want to talk about is the Restoring of the Broken Conference workshop. It's going to be held on August 23rd in Dublin, Georgia. And what it is how can we help the church lead in reentry? Or how can the church lead in reentry? A lot of times when people think about prison ministry, they think about going into the jails or going into the prisons, but it's so much more that can be done. So August 23rd, we got three dynamic speakers that will be coming. We have a panel for you for people with live experience, whether it's the probation officers, whether it's the DA, whether it's people who have rehabs or whatever the case may be. And we're going to talk about some of the needs. We're going to talk about some of the needs of why we need you, why we need this church. So come on in, state your name, state where you're from, and we can go ahead and tune in to this podcast. But I would like for you to join us if you can, August 23rd in Dublin, Georgia. Restoring the Broken workshop. I am so looking forward to this. I am so grateful to God and everything that He's doing in the life of the compassionate advocate. And Jesus is the key to reentry. The third thing, I know I said it was just one or two things, but the third thing that I want to say, if you hear some little kids in the background, those are my grandbabies. We have my grandbaby call it a house tale. So we're in a house tale right now. So I told my son and daughter to kind of keep them a little quiet, but they're twins, that's 4, and a little girl is 2. So it's possible you may just hear them in the background, but if not, just giving you a little disclaimer up front. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring my guests in on tonight. And I know that I say it every week that this is one of the best guests. And I'm just anticipating what he's going to say on tonight. I've been sharing a lot of his posts on my story on my page, and just some of the motivation and inspirational talk. I actually met him probably, I have maybe, I'm gonna say about a year. We was on a panel together for the Georgia Department of Corrections. So we was on a panel together, and that's how I met him. And I just been listening to him. I've been following. I said, okay, God, now is the time. Now is the time to do it. So here he is. None other than Dr. Omar Howard. Come on in tonight. How are you, sir?
Hey, I am here and excited, and all those great things that come with just waking up in the morning. Um, you know, uh, Having an opportunity to breathe and see everything. So for me, man, I'm happy, and thank you once again for allowing me to be on here and all the kind words. I'm just doing God's will, man. I ain't nothing I did special, man. I just give God the glory for that. I can't ever take
Sure.
any credit for that ever in life.
And
but I'm grateful.
that's so true. Yes, to God be the glory for everything that He has done. I think I'm okay. I was kind of lost you a little bit. There's Nicole. I think she sat on the panel with us as well. Hey, Nicole,
Hey,
um,
Nicole,
great
what's up?
woman as well. But yes, so let's go ahead and just jump in. Just jump in on this first question. And the question, and as everybody see the title, it says freedom is a choice. And I heard that from you. And that was the first time I was like, okay, so freedom is a choice. So tell me, why do you feel that freedom is a choice, or why you say freedom is a choice?
Yeah, it's amazing. People have like tried to challenge me, with that like freedom and choice. And they go into the historical slave, and we're not denying that. Of course, from that perspective, no, we wasn't free by choice. You know what I'm saying? But as we've gotten into a new modern time, and some of the choices that a lot of us have made, and once we had the opportunity to get out, now I realize that life is about choices, right? And so we have to take accountability, and we have to understand that with choices come consequences. With consequence comes a destination or outcome. And so when I got out of prison, man, I choose freedom, and I have to choose freedom every day. And that's based on every choice that we make throughout our lives. You know what I'm saying? Now freedom is a choice is twofold. Just kind of give you where all this started. If you wanted me to kind of start up, kind of how this manifests and how this was birthed. For those that don't know, like I did 15 years in the Department of Corrections, state prisons. Uh, the you know when I talk about this, it always come with conviction. It always come with sadness. It always come with I wish I would have did different. Because the choices I made in my life disrupted my life in such a major way. Um, but I'm originally from Auburn, Alabama, and my first 9 years there. And my cousin just came on too. She could testify. She lived down there with me, so she could testify. What I'm saying is true. Like, we lived in poverty, and at the time we didn't know about poverty. You know what I'm saying? But my biggest influence, because I'm an only child, living amongst cousins, aunts, and uncles. Some of my aunts and uncles were, drug addicts, alcoholics, and some of my cousins, they just living life to what we thought life was, right? But they taught me some things in my life, probably that I shouldn't have learned at that age, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and that's stealing and, just committing, a lot of unnecessary things, at that age. Definitely my grandmother wasn't teaching it to me, but and I know that I didn't really want to live that life. You know what I'm saying? I knew early on I really didn't want to live that life, but of course, your peers have a lot of, influence on you. So my mother, in the process of me staying with my grandmother, my mother moved up to Georgia in pursuit of a better life. When I tell you poor, we grew up like dirt road poor, dirt road. If anybody from the South, anybody from the country know about the tin house with the tin roofs on it, we lived in that type of house. If anybody ever lived with an infestation of roaches and rat, that's type of poverty. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather, like he had a garden, like a big old garden. Like he and I ain't talking about with a tractor. I'm talking about he had to plow with the mule on it. Literally, I'm not talking about, he had a plow with a mule on it. So we seen that type of life. Of course, at the time we didn't know like that was poverty. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know that. But at the time, like I said, with me learning everything I did, even though I knew it was wrong, yeah, it was still fun to be around my cousins and my uncle or whatever. And so when we moved up here, my mom moved up here, like I said, with the pursuit of trying to do something different. But in the process, her moving up here and moving me up here, I had relatives move, the same relatives that I probably need to be away from, moved up here too, right? So I didn't move away from what, I should have been away from. And so not having, a father figure, because I didn't know my father, just knew of my father. I knew he played basketball for Auburn University. That's all I ever knew of him. So I didn't know my father. And so I got here in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, because I knew how to gravitate to militia to. I knew I had positive friends, but it was so easy for me to gravitate to the people that didn't do right because at the time I'm thinking that's just fun, you know. Fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, I was doing good, you know, living with mom and my mom, my mom was just, she was a person of, she was a provider. She worked every day. She worked all day, made sure I had clothes on my back, made sure I had a decent place to live. Probably wasn't much hand on as, trying to raise a son because, probably didn't, she didn't understand how to raise a son at the time, but she knew how to provide, you know what I'm saying? And so uh, I probably missed out on a lot of things and she probably missed out on a lot of raising me because she didn't really understand or even know how at the time of her life. But things were well, like it wasn't a negative, and it wasn't necessarily a negative environment once we moved away from those particular part of my family, but I still gravitated to other people, man, that I probably shouldn't have gravitated to. But and I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to do something in my life. I wanted to go to college. Just didn't have a motivation. I didn't have motivation necessarily from home. And because I wanted to be around certain individuals in my community, I always found myself doing stuff that I had no business doing. And one thing led to another. Once I turned like 15, I really started entertaining a lot of different scenarios. And the first time I got locked up for a robbery charge. Me and a group of guys was going around, to different schools and we, jumping on kids and taking their starter jackets and tennis shoes and stuff like that. All in the name of fun. Just doing crazy stuff. And so we get caught. And we go to juvenile. And I always tell people all the time that this at the time when, if you remember this, when NWA first like hit, right? And I never forget, man. Like, one of the key songs was "F the Police." So we're in back of the police car. Now this is always I just think about this. We're in back of the police car, and we sung word for word "F the Police" all the way to the police station. Like we was getting it, we was giving it to him, man. F the police, like I'm just, I got all this hair, I'm looking thuggish, I'm looking wild, and we just thought that was the funniest thing, man. And just being rude and disrespectful, And we get in there, and detective, he's talking, and I'm like, man, I don't want to hear that, man. You just locking me up because I'm black, man. And that dude said, man, you just robbed somebody like you. Man, I tell you, I felt like dummy. Like on a dummy, man. Like, oh, man, he right. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to get out. Like, I didn't really want to hear all that at the time, man. Like, I'm just like, I'm gonna do better though. You know what I'm saying? So I get out. Of course, I don't bun and get slapped on the hand. It's crazy, a robbery charge too. Just get kind of slapped on the hand. And so we about a month later, I'm back into it, just back out there. And one thing led to another, Now I'm, we're jumping on kids, taking stuff. Now I'm getting to a place where I'm not interested in school. I just want to skip school. I want to make some money. I'm trying to sell some dope now. I'm trying to chase the girls. I want to play basketball, but I'm not motivated. I don't have nobody to motivate me. And even the positive guys that was around me, because a lot of upperclassmen liked me for, they liked me. You know what I'm saying? Thought I had potential. And they was trying to push me to do better in school, but I was so, tied into the guys that wasn't doing right. And then once I got a taste of that little dope money, my mind really shifted to a different place. So 8th grade, I'm making A's and B's. 9th grade, about half the, second semester, man, I was dropping out of school. I wasn't even trying to go to school, man. Like I'm this rude, disrespectful kid. And just a matter over a summertime, over a period of time, a short period of time, man, how easily you can change and become a different person, trying to be like your peers. You know what I'm saying? And so the next time I caught a charge, my second charge was a terroristic threat charge. Me and some group of kids who was at Redan High School, and my friend got to fight with a guy, and security guard run up us, and I'm trying to fight the security guard, and we trying to fight, and we running from the police, and just being disrespectful and rude. So the second charge I caught was, police charge. So it was terroristic threat. The next one was a gun charge, and me and a group of guys were with a group of girls. Girls said they ran away. We got locked up for that, man. Like, it was just one thing after another, one thing after another. Then I found myself hanging with guys that I should have never been hanging with. And to this day, I always try to figure out how in the world I get connected with these guys who are known on robbers. They're older than me, known robbers and guys who, have skipped murder charge or beaten murder charge. Like, I don't even know how I got connected with some of these guys, but I got connected. And so for me at the time, it was entertaining. I was like, oh yeah, I like this. I kind of, for some reason, it's crazy. I liked because I didn't grow up that way. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. These guys got, people, kind of respect them to some degree. So they hated them to some degree. And I'm just like, oh, I like this. So I'm finding myself in a lot of crazy stuff. Now I'm kicking in doors, I'm robbing, shootouts. I'm just doing a lot of crazy stuff, man. All the way up to like 92, my first son was born, man. And for the first time in my life, man, like I felt conviction to change. Like after I didn't say first time in my life, but like since I had been up here in Georgia and, even get into stuff, like for the first time when I held my son for the first time, it was like, man, I need to do something different, man. So I went back to school. And I never forget, like the principal was like, man, this is a different year here, man. Even Omar doing right this year, right? Because I stayed in some jobs, man. Like I was sneaky with it too. Like they could never catch me, but they were all, because I swear every time we get into fights, every time a big commotion on them there, when I was in school, and I remember getting principal used to come down and call me out like, I know you had something to do. Like I'm hidden, jumping on and running, like I'm trying to get away, like I ain't trying to get caught, right? So. And they was trying to always send me to Hamilton. I don't know if you know anything about Hamilton, but that's an alternative school. And I'd be like, man, I just drop out of school, man. I ain't going to no Hamilton. I'm not going to get up no 4 or 5 o'clock, man. I already don't want to go to school now. I already miss half school now. Now, man, at this point in time, man, like I'm just disrespectful. I'm rude. I don't have no respect for authority. Me and my mom are not on good terms. I'm depressed. I'm stressed out. Even though I tried to do right in school, money wasn't flowing the way I need to. And now I have a son. I'm pregnant again. And, I had supposed to have another girl pregnant. Like, man, my mind was just, I was in a dark space in 92, a very, very dark space. And then I found myself getting back into some stuff. Now I dropped out of school again. After I did like 5 or 6 months doing good. And now I got a job at McDonald's down on Evan Mill Road, which, I think everybody from Lithonia had a job at Evan Mill Road, right? So, I felt good about that, but the money wasn't flowing. And so because I had a child, like it was like, man, you got diapers, you got Infamil. Was it Infamil? I think something like that, or similar, whatever. Infamil. It wasn't similar. Infamil. Like, clothes and, gas in the car. And, it was just like overwhelming. And I was depressed. I was stressed out. I didn't know if I was coming and going. Now I'm being not only rude and disrespectful to, my mom and them, now I'm being abusive to my son's mom. Like I'm being very abusive because I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to be a father, because no one really taught me. I watched my uncle and cousin them be abusive to their girlfriends and wives and stuff. And and it's crazy. I never wanted to be like them, but end up being just like them. You know what I'm saying? And, maybe because those seeds were planted in my life so early and seeing a lot of just negativity. And my cousin can contest to it. We probably seen more negativity in our home at the time and violence in our home than we did in the community at the time, so it was crazy. And so I got back in the streets. I'm back on some wild stuff. And then 1993 hit and I found myself locked up with 13 major felons in DeKalb County. Initially, I was locked up for 3 counts on robbery, 3 counts of false imprisonment, 3 counts of aggravated assault, burglary, carrying a concealed weapon. And then some other things happened and some other people, put some things out there. And now I'm charged with murder, felony murder, 3 counts on robbery, 3 counts of prison. Now I got 13 felonies, right? And you imagine at 18 years old, faced with all the major felons in the cab that can put you away forever, man. And I always tell kids, man, like, that's when you start coming back to reality. Like, man, and I'll never forget, man, all I could say one time is, man, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm locked. It's like my first day in jail. And I'm like, man, what the hell? It's like I woke up. I'm like, man, what the hell am I doing, man? Like, what? It's like I woke out of a dream. I couldn't believe I'm sitting here locked up for all these felonies. Now my friends turning against me, everybody turning against me. It was so much going on. And my mom was crying, my son, like, my grandmother, everybody, they hurt, and I'm like, man, what is, like, this is not reality. This ain't what's supposed to, I'm hoping I can wake up and thinking, like, I'm just hoping it's a dream. Like, this got to be a dream. But every day went by, the real reality kicked in. And there's times in that first couple of weeks that I thought about suicide. Like, I just didn't want to be separated from the people that I love the most, and that's my son, my family, my mom, and people that I care about. Like, and I was like, man, I ain't finna be doing all this time, man. And at the time, like, people don't know, even though I had a murder charge, but it wasn't my murder charge. I was present when it happened, but I wasn't close where it happened. But I was present, and I'm the only one at the time. It was crazy, and so I just remember, like, God, I ain't saved at the time. I don't want to be the same person. I don't know when I'm gonna get out, but I don't want to be this person. This is not the life that I like. I don't want to be locked up. And I had been locked up several times as juvenile, a couple times in the county, and got out. But this time it hit, and I was like, nah, this is not what I want to do. I don't like this. I don't like the atmosphere. I don't like the feeling knowing that I'm probably never getting out of prison, or I'm going to be in prison for a very long time. And I remember calling my mom and telling her, like, Mom, I'm not going to get out this time. To hear my mom cry, like, and when I call my son Mom and hear the son crying and hear her crying, I'm just like, man, what am I doing, man? And so I decided to go to church, man. Of course, that's first thing we all do. We get locked up or we get in trouble or get hit by, we run to God like, hey, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm running to God, man. I'm like, man. And, I always jokingly tell people this, man. I think I was trying to trick God, man. I was like, God, man, you let me out this, God. I ain't going to never do nothing else again. Like, drop these charges, God, let something come through. I'm out of here, right? I ain't never coming back. And so I remember, like, in the process of asking God to help me, I'm also here talking to my homeboys. We talking. And I'm like, shoot, if I catch somebody slipping, boy, I'm gonna put that pistol on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you still playing games, man. You know what I'm saying? And who knows better than God? You know what I'm saying? He knows you. You know what I'm saying? So he had a purpose. He definitely had a purpose for my life. And so I always tell people, man, my first charge I caught was a robbery charge. I got tapped on the hand. I got 18-month probation. The person that I was with was the same person I got locked up with on the murder charge. I got 18-month probation for that charge, and eventually I got 18 years for all this. So I got the warning sign in the beginning. If I didn't change my life, there's going to be... Now, I could have got a life sentence. God intervened, and they dropped the murder down to manslaughter. I accepted a plea because, I didn't want to tell, didn't want to do nothing. You trying to keep cold the street, didn't want to be a part of this because people had told me, and I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I'm just trying to listen to my mom. They're like, man, you better tell, but you listen to the people, like, you better say that, so you stuck in between. So I ended up, taking a plea for 18 years. And I never forget while I'm sitting on that podium and looking back at my mom, looking back at my son, looking at that podium, looking at that paperwork, and picking up that pen and to sign my name away. That was a horrible feeling. Before I moved too fast, after I got saved, I started going to Bible study and church and praying a lot. And I'm praying out to God, praying out to God, praying out to God, save me. God definitely had a plan in my life. And I ended up getting transferred to, at the time, it was probably one of the most dangerous prisons that was in the state of Georgia at the time, especially for young adults. And it was called Alto. And anybody in the state of Georgia that know Lee Arrendale State Prison, it's originally called Alto. The historical name is Alto, but it's Lee Arrendale State Prison. It's actually a female prison now, but it was actually a male facility first. And this place was known for violence, rapes, And I tell people all the time, I joke, like, I didn't go down like I was hard. I was scared. I was super scared. Like, I didn't want, because now all I'm hearing, like, man, hey, boy, you light skinned, you got good hair, man. Hey, boy, boy, they going to be at you, boy. I was like, oh, man, I don't want to be around none of that, man. You know what I'm saying? That ain't me there, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, man, this is first time in my life, I don't want good health. I make me dog scared, God. I don't want none of that, right? So, I'm hope I'm ugly to everybody, right? But I get down there, man. Of course, you know, you get to hearing all the whistles and the slick comments out the windows and guys looking at you. And these guys, at the time, I'm only about 175. These guys looking like everybody down there looked big to me. Like everybody looked like they was swole up. And but that back then they still had weights. Like everybody looked big to me. I was like, man, please. But I'll never forget telling my mom, like, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen down here, but wrong thing. I'm not coming home. You know what I'm saying? I'm scared, but I plan on, I'm gonna have to handle business if I have to. You know what I'm saying? But I'm scared, and I'll never forget, like, as I'm trying to attend church, down there initially in the beginning, I'm like hiding my Bible because I don't want to look weak. I don't want like I'm running to religion, and I used to hide my Bible. But the more I began to embrace my faith, the more I got more serious about my relationship with Christ. I stopped hiding my Bible because I realized it wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of strength. Because it took a lot of maturity. It took a lot of confidence. It took a lot of courage to stand for what you believe in and try to stand on the principles and the integrity of your faith in the midst of a bunch of drama, a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of violence, a bunch of just immoral stuff, And God is truly the God he said he is. And when I tell you the 8.5 years I did at Alto, how God removed my enemies out of the way. I didn't have no issues. I didn't really have no problems. I didn't really get into no nonsense. And God was moving people out of my life. And God was also drawing people to my life. And, one of my partners, one of my close friends, man, he used to always tell me, man, you're a voice of reason down here. Oh, you know what I'm saying? You're a voice of reason. Because I was always trying to get my homeboys to stay out of trouble, and I got with a group of brothers, man, Eric Thomas, Fluel and Carlos Brown, Terrence, all these guys, like, these are my Christian brothers, man. Like, we had a very tight bond, man. And like, we out there on the rec yard. We praising God on the rec yard. We have a Bible study. Like, people, like, we've had some of the gangsters, man, walking around with us. My party's like, man, you got us walking around here, man, everybody looking at us. But it showed me something that it motivated these brothers, man. It allowed guys to do something that they never did before. It allowed guys to have courage in places that they never thought they would have courage, you know what I'm saying? Because they have to live this certain life, like, you know what I'm saying? But now they're showing vulnerability, which wasn't vulnerability, it was showing strength, that I can do something different, man. Like, I can praise God in the midst of this nonsense. And so I began to host Bible study. I was in the choir, like, I'm running groups. So I'm showing y'all how God really started developing in all the things I'm doing. When they brought the high schools and colleges down there, they asked me to start being a speaker. First time I spoke, they told me, like, hey, man, listen, we want you to be a speaker every time they come down here. I wasn't a speaker. I just spoke from the heart. So I had an opportunity now to speak to every time a high school came down. I'm speaking at the high school. I'm speaking to these high school kids. And I'm getting letters back from high school, like, man, the teachers, the students, like, I'm getting a lot of praise. And, I thank God for it because it motivated me. I needed that at the moment, not to boast myself up, but to feel good about who I am and to see who God was in my life. Like, really, God was showing favor, right? Staff was allowing me to do things, man, just have freedom there, man, that probably you shouldn't have had. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really didn't have a lot of issues. And they told me I would never go outside the gate because I had so many charges. After my 7th year, I was outside the gate with men obscured, working on the best details you could work on. But the devil kept trying to throw things in there. They snatched me out of that detail, put me on another one because something happened. Then I was trying to get on the fire department. Told me I couldn't get on the fire department. Then one day, man, I got sent to the hole. First time I ever got sent to the hole while I was at the prison. In prison at all. I only had 3 DRs while I was down. There was some nonsense I shouldn't have probably got done. And so many staff members coming to, like, checking on me, and the warden and the deputy warden at the time, boy, they didn't like that. They're like, nah, we don't like this here. Too many, you too familiar with these staff. But the impact that God allowed me to have with some of the brothers down there and some of the staff members, to me, is mind blowing today, because I've had officers call me since I've been out, and when I ran back into them, and how much they like, I really appreciate it because you was an inmate, and I was able to come in there and talk to you about my life, and you motivate me, you pray for me, stuff like that. Officers that didn't like me in the beginning became my best allies, man. I'm just telling you, when I tell you how God used me while in prison, and you can ask anybody that was an alto with me, the way I live now, man, they can tell you, they can testify to how I was moving when I was down there, and so I ended up getting transferred. They say you're too familiar with the staff. Right. And I ain't saying my life was perfect, man. I still did little sneaky stuff here and there. I was still doing sneaky. I try to be transparent. Like, I wasn't no perfect guy, man. I still had issues. I still had some weaknesses and all this different stuff. So I get straight transferred from a maximum security to a medium security camp. I went to Arrendale State Prison, and I did 2.5 years there. Same activity. I'm in the choir. I'm on chaplain day. I'm doing all this stuff, man. God is just allowing the doors open up. And then one day it was like, after 2.5 years, I never forget. They packed up about 20 people. They were like, we found all these drugs. So they got us all in his cell. I'm like, man, I don't do no drugs, man. I don't do nothing, man. Like, I'm clean. Like, I don't play around. So I'm like, man, these folks gonna ship me. So they done got me involved in something, man. I'm like looking crazy. Cause I don't want to, let me tell you something. I didn't want to be far from my mom. I didn't want to be far from my son. My mom came down there as much as she could, because when I was at Alto, Alto was on an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away. When I got to Alburst, it was only about 50 minutes away. So I'm close to home. I don't want to go way down south where it's 6 or 7 hour drive. My mom had to get a hotel or something like that, because my mom, out of 15 years, my mom, 99% was giving 1% for the other few people that did come see me. 99%, my mom was the only person that came down there. As popular as I was in high school, of course, I didn't have no brothers and sisters. And, my cousin, they came when they could. My aunts came when they could, but nobody came. So 2.5 years, I'm sending this thing, and they transfer us to Jackson. Now they shipping everybody to these camps, and I'm like, man, now mind you, I got all these charges. I wasn't supposed to go to the next camp I was supposed to go to, from what they told me. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm the last person to get on the bus. And the officer walked over to me. He said, Omar, Howard, you know where you're going? I'm sad now. I'm like, man, nah, I don't know where I'm going. He said, man, you about to go to the Atlanta Transitional Center, man, on Ponce Leon, man. You about to go home. Man, I couldn't say it then, but I just wanted to shout, man, like, what? The transitions, man, I'm like, oh my God. Now, I didn't go to work these times, but I went to long-term maintenance. But I'm still at the transition center, right? So I'm just like, oh my, that's in my spirit though, right? I ain't want to do it out there, right? So they took the handcuffs off. They put me on the van. They took the striped suits with it. I just got a jumpsuit on. Now I'm on the van, like, yeah, man. So we on 75 coming to Atlanta, and you just see Atlanta just get bigger, and I'm just getting more excited. I'm like, oh, I'm at 11 years now. I did 11 years. Like, I'm so excited, man. I'm like, oh my God, man. Like, I'm excited. So I get to the transition center, man, and I get booked in and everything. They take that jumpsuit off of the brown. So I never forget, man, I got the chance to get on the phone, counselor phone. Now, my mom don't know where I'm at yet. My mom think I got transferred to some other camp, some prison far away, man. But I tell you, one day, man, and I this is one of the things in my life that I think about. When I picked up the phone and I first said, hey, Mom, I just heard her voice just cracking. She just don't know what to think. I said, Mom, I'm at the Atlanta Transitional Center on Ponce Leon. I'm 15 minutes away from the house. Just to hear her say, just to hear her like just breathe, like what it did for me. Like, oh yeah, I ain't never come back to prison. Through that life there, man. That's over with, man. Right? To hear my mom breathe, know that I was closer to my family, was a great feeling. And after 30 days, they brought me some real clothes up there, so I got a chance to put on some. It was XL for real. Like, gave me some real clothes to put on, because in long-term maintenance, you get to wear real clothes. So I'm wearing my real clothes. Like, I'm feeling like a human being again, man, because people don't know. Like, I'm telling you a very narrow story of prison, man, but I can't tell you, like, the guys, man, that was getting raped down there, the guys that was getting stabbed, the guys that was getting extorted, the guys that was getting beat up, the guys that was losing their mind, the guys that committed suicide, the guys that lost their life down there, the guys that would never getting out of prison. The guys that was going to be in there 25, 30, 35 years, 40 years. You don't know the depression and the stress, man. When you're sitting on the side of that bed sometimes, don't know if you're coming or going. Don't know if you just want to just give it all up, man. Like, here, I'm done. I'm just going to take my life. People don't know that sitting out on a yard call, looking at the real world and don't know when you're going to get there. Seeing guys go home and you're not going home. Getting close to guys that's going home and they're not going home. Getting close to guys, they're getting transferred to another prison. Now you got to build new friendships. Getting transferred to other camps or fighting because you don't want to fight. Fighting because you have to fight. It's crazy. Can't see your family members. Your family members are dying and you can't go to the funeral. Even if you could go, your family can't afford for an officer to come pick them up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that y'all don't hear. There's a time in there when my mom couldn't come visit me. I was so mad. Now, my mom come visit me all the time, but I wanted to go down that visitation because I wanted to see my friends. I want to see my friends' sisters, but I want to go so bad. My mom couldn't get down there. And I went back up to, I was waiting on my mom to come. She couldn't come. I write this, this is how your mind is playing. I'm writing this nasty letter. Like, don't ever come up here. You could have came down here being selfish. Like, I'm just this lonely. And I didn't send this letter off. God didn't let me send that letter off. My mom came down the next Saturday. And I seen the tears in her eyes. Because I sat there for about 20 minutes. I didn't say nothing. She didn't say nothing. We just sitting there. And she finally said, I know you expected me to come. I know you wanted me to come last week. She said, if I couldn't come, I had to go to the emergency room. Listen here. When I tell you I felt like a piece of SHIT, when I tell you I felt like the lowest person in the world, if I would have sent that letter off to my mom, right? Not even know, because I didn't call her to check on her, make sure she got up the road, make sure she didn't have an accident, make sure nothing happened. I'm so selfish, and that's how prison will make you very selfish, right? I got there, man. Like, I felt so bad, man. Like, I'm like, man, what are you doing? And that moment woke me up to realize your mother didn't make a bad decision to come to prison. You did. And so I had to accept my responsibility from that day forward. Even though I was doing good and whatever, there's still things in my life God had to allow me to see, to recognize, like, okay, you got to change this up here, young man. You got to get, because you're going to be talking to other young men and women who are in the same situation, who's going to be going through the same thing. You're going to have to deal with these people. And so you got to change your mindset, right? That was a pinnacle moment in my life where I had to change something. So fast forward again, I'm back at the Transitional Center. And so I'm there for a year. I thought I was going to go home. They set me off for 2.5 more years to be in prison. And that's when God, as bad as that sound, that I was going to have to be in prison a couple more years. And people that's been in prison know when I say set off, they know what I'm talking about. I mean, parole board denied you going home. So I had to be in there 2.5 more years. When I tell you that's when God started opening up the doors for me. After I got denied is when I get a phone. The warden at the superintendent of the facility, Mr. I hope Mr. Arrington's on here. Mr. Arrington City, he can tell you, can testify to this. Mr. Arrington called me to the office. And he said, hey, just got a phone call from Clayton Judicial. A particular young man that I had did time with, that I mentored, that I became good friends with, he got out because he was in juvenile, and he got out. And I was always very positive and trying to always encourage. He got out and he didn't forget me. And he got in front of these court. He said, you need to go back and you need to try to get this young man named Omar Howard to come speak to these kids because he's doing phenomenal work. He's very positive. These folks called up there and said, yo, we'd like to have this guy named Kenyatta Martin. I salute my brother, man. The brother didn't forget me. And I had superintendent say, hey, man, you want to go out and speak to these kids? And I had been praying about this. Like I want to go out and speak to the kids about choices. Now, this is kind of impossible. Now, I'm in prison. I'm at the prison. Not saying people don't do it. They have done it in the past. And he said, I'm going to take you out there. That's the superintendent or the warden, whichever y'all want to call it. He said, I'm going to take you out there, you know. So I go out there. I lay it out to them kids. I came out there, I had the white jumpsuit because I didn't have to, but I wore this white jumpsuit on. I told them to put the handcuffs on me, and I laid it out there to them. And those folks fell in love with me out there. And they called the superintendent and said, can we get him back twice a month? And the superintendent approved it. Now I'm going back and forth to Clayton County twice a month. Then they incorporated the choir that I was in. Now we're traveling around the state of Georgia doing youth ministry, youth, reentry. We're speaking about life choices. And I'm the main speaker at the time. And we're writing skits, and like we were in the newspaper, like we're doing a lot of work, man. And we're having impact. We're at white churches, black churches, like state representatives is called now, the parole board, like we're doing a lot of great work, man. And we get to 2007. And in 2007, I got a letter from the parole board that said, we're finna grant you parole. And so we want you to complete a work release program. And I never get a chance to go into transit. I went into the work release program and I started working. And I got out. But I got to shift this story. I'm not going to try to hold y'all long, but there's a twist to a lot of these stories. I supposed to got out August of 2007. I didn't end up getting out to December. But that's something that happened. The state of Georgia passed some laws. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this because I want you to get my book. It's on Amazon. It's called Omar Howard Story. It's all in the name. But the state of Georgia tried to make me register as a sex offender, and I didn't even have a sex offense charge because I had a robbery charge, and in the house was a minor at the time when we robbed. The state of Georgia passed a law that if there's a minor involved in the midst of certain crimes, they will make you register as a sex offender. And it doesn't even have to be of Section 89. Nothing there was sexual. It was just a minor at the house. These folks made me register as a sex offender for 3 years when I got out of prison. So I get out of prison December 10th. And my first week was hell. You hear me? The first day I get out, they threatened to send me back to prison because they made a mistake on letting me out because of the sex offense charge. Because the condo that I found that a person allowed me to stay in, thanks to Yolanda Thompson for her connection, she got a friend in Bible study to allow me to rent his condo. I gave him like $1,200 up front. And for this parole officer to tell me, now this was my parole officer, it was her supervisor, to tell me, we can't let you move there. We made a mistake. It's 4:45. His office closed at 5 o'clock. He said, you got 15 minutes to find a place to live or I'm sending you back to prison. You can only imagine how horrible I felt. Because I had already found out, right before I got out that they were trying to make me register as a sex offender. I just wanted to get out. I didn't care what I was going to have to go through. And for this guy to tell me I had 15 minutes, a black parole officer, didn't want to hear anything. And I had to go out there and tell my mom that these folks were going to send me back to prison because I didn't have no clue on how to find a place to live. Long story short, I couldn't stay at that condo. I couldn't stay at my mom's house because she stayed close by school. I had to go stay at Moreland. Everybody know about Moreland Avenue. The hotel off Moreland Avenue, Moreland Hotel. I had to stay over there overnight to that next morning to go back to the parole office. I had to go up there to find a place to live. If I didn't find a place to live by 4 o'clock, these folks were going to send me. They was going to put a warrant on me, rearrest me, put me in the county jail until I found a place to live. At 3:30, about 3 o'clock, a great friend of mine who I still work for today, Andrea Shelton for Hardbound Ministries, called me and said, hey, check this place out. It's a rooming house, but check it out. Go there and talk to him. I called the guy, and Kennard Armstrong, appreciate you, man, to this day, man. I called him, told him what's going on. He told me come out there. I told him I could pay a month advance. He said, I understand your situation, man. He said, I give you a chance, man. You can stay here. I told the parole office. They approved it. I went from a condominium in less than 24 hours. I was staying in a rooming house within 24 hours. Fast forward real quick. I'm happy. I'm at a rooming house. I'm home. I'm free. I'm working in Trojan Batteries. Friday come, my parole officer pull up. She said, you're doing a lot of great job, but I'm going to give you some free time this weekend. I need you to find a place to live by Monday. You stay 100 feet too close to a park. Do you know how I felt? Like, this cannot be true, y'all. This cannot be true. And I'm not going to hold y'all. I'm not going to hold you. Friday, I'm looking for a place. Saturday, I get off work. I'm looking for a place. Sunday, I'm looking for a place. I'm at work Sunday night. And I just surrendered to God. I say, God, whatever you got planned, whatever you got planned, I don't know how to fight this no more. And I work at Trojan Baptist, and a peace came over me. This is what I'm telling you. As noisy as it was in that place, it's like I heard this voice say, yield little faith. Where did I doubt it? Right. I said, God, hey, you got it, man. Hey, I'm just going to be at peace, man. Whatever happened to happen. I just got to trust you, right? Heard that voice. Next morning, my mom come get me. I'm like, hey, Mom, whatever happened, don't cry about it. We'll figure it out. I just take it to the gym. I get down there, man, and that parole officer kept threatening me. His supervisor was there. I'm the first person at the parole office. He comes up, he said, hey, come to my office. I'm ready to go to jail. I'm like, whatever, let's get it. And he sat down, he looked at me, he said, who told you you were going back to prison? I said, well, my parole officer said, your assistant supervisor, your super assistant said that if I didn't find a place by Monday, I'm just going back to prison. He said, well, I had an interesting phone call this morning at 7 a.m. from the head of the parole board. And they told me, we made a mistake, we'll fix it. Omar Howard would not be going back to prison. Let him continue on with his life. And wish you well. The man said, hey, you keep doing the good work, young man. Shook my hand. He said, enjoy your life. Y'all don't know, man. Just talk about the story. Just got me, man, like emotional, man. Because y'all don't, man, the fear of going back to jail, man, was rough, man. Like, y'all don't know, man. Like, that first week of being taken away, you know what I'm saying? Taken away from, freedom that you got, man. Like, it was rough, man. Like, and so I had to deal with the stigma of sex offense for 2.5 more years. You know what I'm saying? I had to deal with the stigma of that. Like, it felt bad sometimes going to the high school because I didn't know if nobody was looking on the paperwork like, oh, he's a sex offender. And I'm not even a sex offender. I'm meeting people and I got to explain to people like, man, this is what's going on. Because, the law is if you don't tell somebody like at job or if a living place, you can get locked up again. You can get charged and you can get a 10-year sentence for not telling people that you're a sex offender. So I had to tell people this, but I had to explain to people. And I was like, it was crazy. So anyway, Southern Center for Human Rights came in. We was fighting it in court for 3 years. And I supposed to went to court December 4th, whether they were going to try to take me off or not. I get a phone call December 3rd. I'm laying in bed. My lawyer said, hey, man, listen, you ain't got to go to court tomorrow. The judge signed off you also sex offense charge. Boy, I rolled about the bed. I rolled about the bed and just fell on the ground. I said, man, look at this here, man. Like, God, you real. You know what I'm saying? So that was 2009. I get another phone call. That was December 4th. I get another phone call. And I was asked, because the chaplain at the time of the Transitional Center, Chaplain Nix, he died, which was my mentor. He died November. I get a phone call from Andrew Sheldon December and say, hey, how would you like to go back inside the prison as a chaplain? I was like, what? Man, I just got out of prison, man. I ain't trying to go back to no prison. In my mind, I was saying that, right? But I'm like, what's up? And I'll go back in now because I go around and speak already anyway, right? So I go up there and the superintendent at the time, man, superintendent said, man, that's the best thing I've heard. Now, the superintendent had to say, all the other people that apply for this job, people that's been in ministry, people that's been got doctorate degrees and they, whatever they got going on. And he picked somebody like me that came out of prison. That was a chaplain aide now. That was a chaplain. I'm saved. He called somebody like me, man. God put on that man's heart to make me the head chaplain of the same prison that I paroled out of, right? Listen what I'm trying to tell you. That man gave me some keys to a prison. And I remember calling my partner. I said, hey, man, these folks just gave me keys to the prison. He said, man, how they do that, man? You're a convict, man. How you do that? Favor, though, Tammy. Favor. God had favored me. The one decision in the county jail, didn't know what I was doing. And the best decision I ever made was getting saved. And God orchestrated my foot, my path throughout prison, throughout the county jail, and when I got out. God had to let me go through a lot of different things because these are the people I was going to be dealing with. Sex offenders, murderers, armed robbers, rapists, gang members, people that's been in the same shoes, you've been in poverty. Let me mentor kids because this is what you're going to be doing when you get out. I started January 1st, 2010 as the chaplain at Atlanta Transitional Center. 2011, I started Freedom as a Choice. I was on TBN. Anybody remember TBN? Trinity broadcast. I was on TBN, and one of the things I said at the end of the interview was, freedom is a choice. And the lady turned around and said, and make the right decision. So I made my slogan of my organization based on freedom is a choice, because that's life is about choices. And I started my organization in 2011, Freedom is a Choice, which is geared toward encouraging youth to choose freedom over incarceration. And that's what I've been doing over the years, mentoring youth, speaking in prison, speaking in juveniles, speaking on panels about reentry. So I've been doing reentry. I've been doing this nonprofit, which I really didn't know much about. But God had put me in position, man, to do everything I'm doing. But he started when I was in prison. I wrote my book. I told you I got out 2007, 2010. I started at Transition Center. 2017, I came out with my book. I was on the Yana Van Zant show. 2018, the state of Georgia granted me a full pardon. 2019, Department of Correction hired me on full time as an employee, not a volunteer no more, like I've been doing for the last several years. Hired me on with benefits as a full time employee of the same department that housed me for 15 years. As of recently, 2021, I got an honorary doctorate. I've gotten all type of awards. 2022, 23, I got a Outstanding Citizen Awards, highest award you can get in the state of Georgia, ambassador. I went to, Morehouse School of Medicine, got a lot of different life coaching certifications. And just recently, I took a full-time job with Emory, probably the first convicted felon they ever had to actually do their violence prevention program. So I work for Emory now, full-time violence prevention, just trying to do the work in the community, trying to help these young adults find their purpose in life. So I mentor young men, and thank God to Rockin' Tacos and the owner of Rockin' Tacos who sponsored. For me, send kids. I've been taking kids to Africa, Guatemala, Puerto Rico, thanks to Hood Exchange. Like I've had the opportunity to take kids abroad, man, on mission trips to help them find their place in life and do things, to find purpose. And so I have a lot of young men that I work with to this day that I've been working with for several years. I got some young men that locked up. I still keep in contact with, I've had some great moments. I've had some down moments, I've still had kids to make some bad decisions, which is okay. We make bad decisions along our way. What I'm saying? My prayer for them that they get out one day and they'll be able to make a difference in their life. So that's what Omar Howard is. The last thing, when I finish my book, it's called It's All in the Name. Omar means everything that I'm doing today. Omar means long live, eloquent, and gifted speaker. I told you I never wanted to be a speaker. And I was asked to be a speaker in prison, not even knowing what I was doing. So that just lets you know God always have a plan and purpose for your life. And so we have to accept and embrace your path. And like I said, it hasn't always been a nice path. It haven't always been the best path. There's been some ups and downs. There's been some highs and lows. There's been some days, weeks, months I wasn't praying. There's been some days I didn't want to do anything. But, the one thing that I do know and that I hold dear to me and I tell anybody is, regardless of what I'm going through, regardless of where I'm at in my life, there's only one foundation for me, Christ. There's only one thing that I can fall back on. If the house is no good and had to be torn down and repaired, there's one thing that will never have to change, and that's the foundation. God is the foundation. Christ is the foundation of my life, man. And so if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be at, man. And so this is where you see freedom as a choice. This is where you see the Omar, the life coach, honorary doctor and holder, the motivation speaker, the inspiration speaker, chaplain of the Atlanta Transitional Center. It was only because I made one decision one day to get saved. And I'm not telling you something that I heard work. I'm telling you something that I know worked. You want to talk about evidence-based? I always tell people the Bible is the first evidence-based program ever in the history of life. You want to see change? Give God a chance. You gave these streets a chance. You gave everything else a chance. Give God a chance you gave. Because even when you're at your lowest, even when you feel like lost your way, man, as long as you don't lose, your mindset and your path to the source, right? You may not never turn the light on again, but as long as it stay plugged up, and all you do is turn that switch on, right? So don't forget where the source comes. Don't forget your foundation. So, but listen, that's my story. That's the Omar Howard story. This is why I'm at where I'm at today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow, and to God be the glory for the things that he has done in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching, I know you enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure you share this podcast on your streaming network. If you got one, share it on one. If you got two, share it on two, because this message is for so many. Um, my goodness. And it's just the power of God. But I do want to say this one thing, and it's to piggyback off of that sex offender, because a lot of, just because they have that charge
Yeah.
don't mean that a sexual act. Look what happened in this situation. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we look down on people with those charges when we don't even know the whole story behind it. So be careful of who you judge. Be careful of who you think you know, or whatever the case may be. But um, Omar, I'm telling you, I
And
know.
listen, it's not, and we're not educated on a lot of things. So I've had to be in church spaces, and I've had
Yeah,
to explain to people like for me, you know, God had allowed me to go through things so I wouldn't be biased, so I
right,
wouldn't be judgmental, right?
right,
God
right,
had to humble me in all those areas. And I'm gonna tell you one more last story. I'll never forget, man. I was boasting when I was in prison. I'm probably at my 6th, 7th year. I hadn't been in no trouble, ain't no DRs. I got these certifications, all that. And I just kept saying, like, yeah, I'm doing this. Why these folks won't let me out? Woo, I'm just really blowing my head up. And I had a dream one night. God's untrue. I had a dream one night. And in the dream, I seen this individual walking toward me. And in my spirit, I knew it was a demon. I knew it was a demon, the way he was approaching me. But he was in a human form. But I knew it was a demon. And I said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. You know what he said? You can't rebuke me. You're too arrogant. And I fell to my knees and I prayed God to forgive me of being arrogant and boastful and blowing my head up like I was bigger than anybody else. Because it was only by the grace of God that I was at where I'm at. It was only by the grace of God I didn't have no issues down in prison. And I had to repent of my sins. I had to repent in my dream. And when I stood back up, I said, I rebuke in the name of Jesus. And he fled. Only because I had to submit myself to something different. So when we're in these spaces when we're in these spaces, man, don't forget the grace that God had in your life. I had three prayers. I said, God, I want to meet my father. Never met my father and have no information on him. I said, I want to find my cousin before mother dies. And I want to meet the parent, the family, the mother. I said, I want to meet the mother of the victim. I met the mother of the victim. She forgave me, embraced me like I was her own child. No lie. Me and that lady had the best relationship. Her birthday is on the same day as my birthday. Like to the day she died, that lady loved me like I was cry. I'm crying on the phone talk because she died. She passed away of cancer. She was sad for me because I was crying. Like the heart of that lady really reshaped my whole way of thinking about life. She had a spirit about her, man, that you don't see every day. I found my father, met my father, and I found my cousin who was missing for 39. My father was missing all my life, 40-something years. My cousin was missing for 39 years. I found my cousin before my aunt died. I found my father, and I met the mother of the victim. God works. And, sometimes we look at prayers and we look at these things in life like, we look at big houses, big cars. These are things that we like dwell on to pray for. Not that God can't bless you, because he will. But, man, your heart has to be, your heart, the ground of your heart has to be tilled. You know what I'm saying?
amen.
Get in your word, study your word, meditate on your word, pray, fast. Get away from the commercialized. I thank God for prison was my island of Patmos.
Mm-hmm.
If you know anything about John was put on the island of
Mm-hmm.
Patmos. Yeah, he was given a revelation. I thank
Right.
God for separating me from the world to give me a revelation of where I need to be at and to have a relationship with him. Separate yourself from the commercialized side of faith, of Christianity, and your relationship with Christ. Separate yourself from that and really dwell in the word of God. And study that word and meditate on the word and pray. Our lives ain't perfect. And I love a song that William Murphy said. He said, said, I ain't perfect, but I'm faithful. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I don't think God always expects us to be perfect because we're going to make bad decisions, but be faithful to what you're supposed to do. God will remove some things out your life. He'll reshape some things in your life. And I want to encourage as y'all repost this and as you send this, because here's what the biggest testament for me. And here's what the storyline that I want y'all to the reason why I want you to repost it. I've dedicated my life, man, to empower these young adults for the choices they make. That's why I started my organization, Freedom of Choice. It's way bigger than Omar Howard. Definitely having to do with Omar Howard. Because I want to see young men find their purpose in life. Don't want to see young men continue to make the same mistakes they make to send themselves to prison. We are losing a battle that we don't have to lose. We're giving the devil way too much power when we give other things in our life way too much power, and we're losing in the process. So, as men and women of God, we're going to have to stand in the gap, and we're going to have to pray, and we're going to have to stand firm against the stigma, the lies, and all the nonsense. And don't care what nobody else say. What everybody's got going. All I can tell you is my faith in Christ is the only thing that have sustained me and kept me this far. And I know if people will give Christ a chance, I know it would change their lives. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that, you got atheists out here that have changed their lives, but I'm talking about not only do I want you to change your life and go to prison, but I don't want you to go to hell, And so, but my message is to these young men to find their place and their purpose in life and to value. And I tell kids this in school all the time, value who you are. When you look in the mirror every day and you're brushing your teeth, young man or young lady or adult, whatever, and you're washing your face, and you need to love the person in the mirror. You need to learn to value the person in the mirror. You need to appreciate who God have created in that mirror. When you find value in who you are, you'll start finding value in the world. You know what I'm saying? You'll find value amongst people. Don't let anyone or any person trick you off these streets. Make the better decisions. Be obedient to your parents and to people of authority. Don't be so rude and disrespectful. You don't have to be. Don't take on the shape shifting of the world or the streets. Because I promise you, when you find yourself behind those bars, all these people that you have dedicated your life to won't be there with you. I promise you. Love your mom, love your dad. Value, when I say value, that means appreciate your sisters and brothers, your niece and aunts. Value that time, because when they're gone, they're gone. And saying all that, parents, don't give up on your kids. You may have to step back. You may have to lift your hands, but give them over to God. Because after that, once we've planted the seed in one water, the Bible said God's give the increase, right? Give them over to God. Continue to pray for them. Continue to tell you I love them, Sometimes it ain't about speaking at them. Sometimes it's about loving them. Sometimes you have to love them at a distance. You personally can't change anybody. They have to make their own decisions. Don't give up. When I say don't give up praying for them. Don't give up telling them how much you love them. Don't give up being a parent. Parent is 24 hours, 7 days a week. Don't matter how old you are. You still have authority of a parent. The Bible says, honor thy mother and father. Say, I'm agree with everything, but be the parent. Parents that got young adults, as long as they stay in your household, you still have access to any room, to anything that goes on in the house. Parents, stay in your kids' business. Don't let these streets eat your kids up. Now, you can't stop everything. Some things we just can't stop. But as long as you stay in this house here, I ain't afraid of you. All right? And when you get to that point in your life where you're that grown, then you need to have a job and you need to move on. I think nature teaches us that even the bird, once he gets grown, he got to put the feathers, got to flap, you got to flap, right? So, just remember that in your place, because nobody can tell you how to raise a child, because nobody can write a perfect book on that. But just do what God asks you to do, and that's plant a seed or water, whatever. And let God work the rest of it out. And so let's just stay in that place in our life. And just that Omar, the Omar House Stories on Amazon.com. Go get the book. If you stay in the Metro Atlanta area, you can call me at 470-257-0966.
You're gonna have to get that to me again. Sorry. Okay.
470-257-0966. You can call, text me. We can meet up. I can get you a book. We can sign it. If you want to book me for a speaking engagement, you can reach me at the same number. we'll exchange information, email, and you can, send book me for, church, school, prison, jail. Let's figure it out, and we'll go from there. You know what I'm saying? But I promise you, get that book. You'll love
Perfect.
it. Pass it on to a kid. Make them read. Governor Deal, Nathan Governor Deal, wrote a forward after he read my book. He was impressed by the book. So,
Amen.
yeah. So it's been good. It's been good. Like I said, I don't want to hold y'all long, man. I don't want to bore y'all out, man. So God bless y'all. This is the Omar House story. Uh, bless you. Hey,
Thank you. Thank you. You stay on, okay? You stay on. Everyone, I know y'all enjoyed it. The story. Thank you. Here's his number up here again. Miss Tammy put it up 470-257-0096.
yeah,
Four seven zero 257 0096. Omar Howard. Check him out. You already heard what he gave us. You can just imagine getting them live and in person. You can just
yeah,
imagine. We definitely need someone to help talk to our young people, our young men, people in general. Stay on. You don't go. All right, guys, I have to go. As I told you, I am in Orlando. So I'm gonna spend some time with my grandbabies. So until next week, y'all stay good.